Good morning. Great to see those names popping up in Zoom. Welcome to Open Apereo 2020, Day 2. I'm Ian Dolphin, the Executive Director of the Apereo Foundation. First of all, this morning, thanks again to our sponsors, Learning Experiences, Longsight and Entonas de Formation. Without their help, none of this would have been possible, so big thanks, folks. There are reminders in the chat. If you want to take the opportunity to give a lightning talk on Wednesday or Thursday about any particular experience you have with our Apereo software or other open source software, new service development, whatever, then please do sign up. Similarly, if you want to take advantage of an ad hoc meeting space during the conference at any time, if you go to Try Sakai and look in the left-hand menu, you'll see an opportunity to sign up for ad hoc rooms. Now we're about halfway through a gallop through all 16 Apereo software communities. And I thought it might be appropriate just to pause for a couple of moments and look at where these software communities come from. Now, typically, Apereo software communities arise out of the work of particular institutions, scratching an itch that they've got. If you were here yesterday, you'll have heard from the Foysan project from the University of Edinburgh. That's a project that's gone into incubation, into our incubation process, that was originally designed to meet the specific needs of the University of Edinburgh. The University of Edinburgh wanted to make that software more sustainable, believed it might have more general applicability. So they applied for incubation status. So I want to say a few words about incubation. First of all, it's a structured process. You can see that structure in written form on the Apereo website, and these slides will be published later. Fairly easy to find on the website. More importantly, though, it's a mentored process. Our volunteer mentors, our incubation working group, work with projects to guide them through the process. They act very much as critical friends. They guide the project through the process. And it's all about teaching a community to fish, not giving them fish, if I might use that metaphor. Incubation brings certain benefits. First of all, for adopters of our software, they can see that certain criteria have been met, that the code is clean, that the intellectual property is appropriately licensed, that there are contributor agreements in place, that the software community has governance in place, and that it's an active community. And for contributors, incubation gives access to a lot of collective experience of what works and what has worked for other nascent projects and software communities, and equally what hasn't worked. And importantly, an incubating project is a neutral place to sharing intellectual property. So you don't find yourself making a kind of shifting consortium agreement with a set of institutions, and it's not under the control of a single company. How it works? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We do revise the process on a regular basis. We review it. Essentially, an incubation proposal is made to the incubation working group and the Apereo board. Both of those bodies have to approve it because it uses Apereo resources. The incubation working group assess infrastructure requirements, assess the current state of the software, whereabouts it is, where it might fit in the process. Set an approximate time frame, which is different for every project, and we regularly review it. And at an appropriate point, the software community graduates incubation and becomes a sponsored Apereo project. Well, that process relies on volunteers. It relies on folks like you. Our mentors have a variety of backgrounds, not just technical backgrounds, but backgrounds in project management, in user experience design, in running services. So not just technical skills. The time commitment is we meet as a group around once every 2 months, and we meet developing communities as required. And the average is 2 or 3 times a year, but it's different from project to project. So that, in a nutshell, is our incubation process. If you want to help, if you feel you've got something to contribute to this, please drop me a line at that email address, ed@apereo.org, or the chair of our incubation working group, Benito Gonzalez at apereo.org. We'd be more than happy to talk with you further about the implications of being involved in the work. We believe it's a very worthwhile experience and that mentors get something out of this in addition to the projects. So thanks for giving that your consideration. And without much further ado, I want to hand over to the first software community up today. Our schedule features software communities that all have something to do with learning. Tools for learning is the theme of the morning. And the first communities we're going to hear from are Karuta from Jacques Breno and Janet Smith, and OpenEquella from Chris Beach. Both of these software communities have been through the Apereo incubation process. Karuta came out of well, I'll let Karuta speak for itself, but it came out of an effort at HSA Montreal and Grenoble for a next generation portfolio solution. And OpenEquella came to Apereo in a slightly different way, in that Pearson wanted to make the software open source and handed it over to us. But without further ado, I will hand over to Jacques and Janice.